Nothing like this had ever happened before in this kingdom. Fourth market day finally came. The whole kingdom knew it was time. Time to go to the great tree in the forest to seek answers from the gods. The chief priest would lead the way, with his maidens beside him. The king and the elders would follow, with guards to protect the path. And from every family, their first male child was to come along. No one knew what the gods would say, but everyone knew this journey would decide their fate. The palace, the king prepared to set out, with the elders by his side and guards to clear the path. 2 goats were brought from the palace as sacrifices for the gods. 4 guards escorted them forward as they left the palace grounds. Their destination was the market square, where they were to meet the chief priest and begin the journey together. From there, the path would lead into the forest to the great tree to seek answers from the gods. From every corner of the village, the first sons of every family began to set out, just as the chief priest had instructed. Each one carried a living offering, a fowl, a goat, a cow, or whatever their hands could reach. They were to follow the king and the chief priest into the forest, to the great tree, to seek the gods for answers. Their destination was the market square, where the journey would finally begin. At the time they gathered, the men of the village had filled the ground. The king and the elders were there. Each man came with his offering, goats and fowls in their hands. Then the chief priest spoke. He gave them his final instructions before the journey into the forest, to the great tree where they would seek the gods for answers. And with that, they prepared to set out. Before they left for the forest, the chief priest gave them his final instructions. He warned them of the forest, of the power of the gods, and of the price of disobedience. No one spoke. Fear sat on every face. It felt as if the gods themselves were standing among them. That was when they knew this was no ordinary walk. And then they moved. The chief priest led the way. The king and elders followed. One by one, the first sons of Ogbudu left the village square and turned their faces toward the forest, toward the great tree where their fathers once called the gods to speak. They were going to seek answers, to know what had angered the gods of the land, to beg for mercy and for the curse to be lifted. They had left the village behind. Now they walked the narrow road that led to the great tree of Ogbudu. This was the same road their forefathers had walked long ago, for a different cause, to give thanks and seek blessings. Now they walked it with heavy hearts, carrying the hope of the whole kingdom. The great tree was still far, but every step felt deeper. In Ogbudu, they said the forest was alive, and now they were inside it. The great tree was still far ahead, yet they knew the forest had noticed them. In Ogbudu, they said the forest was not one. First was the living forest, the entry into the forest, where the land still breathed. Beyond it lay the sacred forest, the boundary between the world of men and the world of spirits, where the gods were consulted. And deeper still was the evil forest, a place no living man should enter. They had crossed into the sacred forest. This was where the gods were consulted. But here, the great tree was never found in the same place twice. Where a man saw it today, he would not find it there again. In Ogbudu, some said the great tree did not stay in one place. Others said the forest itself kept changing. Only one thing was certain: no man found the great tree by chance. They had crossed into the sacred forest. This was where the gods were consulted. But here, the great tree was never found in the same place twice. Where a man saw it today, he would not find it there again. In Ogbudu, some said the great tree did not stay in one place. Others said the forest itself kept changing. Only one thing was certain: no man found the great tree by chance. Deep inside the sacred forest, they came to a place where they had to stop. This was where they waited for the forest to respond. The chief priest stepped forward and performed the ritual to call for guidance. Everyone stood still. After a few minutes, something happened. 6 black-headed ravens appeared and hovered above them. In Ogbudu, these ravens were known as the guardians of the sacred forest. They had come to guide them to where the great tree was standing that day. Deep inside the sacred forest, they came to a place where they had to stop. This was where they waited for the forest to respond. The chief priest stepped forward and performed the ritual to call for guidance. Everyone stood still. After a few minutes, something happened. 6 black-headed ravens appeared and hovered above them. In Ogbudu, these ravens were known as the guardians of the sacred forest. They had come to guide them to where the great tree was standing that day. 6 black-headed ravens began to move, slowly guiding the way. The chief priest did not hesitate. This was the sign they had waited for. He stepped forward, and the people of Ogbudu followed behind him, walking in silence, led toward where the great tree stood that day. It was not long after the ravens led them on that they reached the place. The great tree stood before them. The chief priest did not delay. Space was cleared beneath the tree. The sacrifice was set, and there in the sacred forest, he began to call on the gods of the land. It had taken them 4 days on the road to reach the great tree. The king was there. The elders stood beside him, and from every family in Ogbudu, the first male child had come. No one was missing. Now beneath the tree, the sacrifices continued. Fire burned, smoke rose, and the people of Ogbudu waited, hoping the gods would hear and return peace to the land.